So we have MoWest alumni, Warrensburg wrestling alumni, JD Culp here. He wrestled for us about, I don't know, 5 years ago, six. I don't know how old you are now, to be honest, but
Yeah, about 6 years ago.
it's kind of crazy to think actually. But
Yeah.
we're circling, around to some MoWest alumni trying to get kind of their story on where they are now. So JD, first you want to tell everyone what you're up to now?
So right now I am a staff sergeant in the Air Force. I fix the V2 plane parts as of now, and that's pretty much it. And then I coach for Noster as well.
Yeah. So one of the reasons why we got JD on to talk is because he's got a pretty unique story. Um, Everyone's kind of down in the dumps about wrestling right now, obviously, because we don't know what's going to happen with coronavirus and all that. But JD has a story that I feel like adds some good perspective for everybody of just what it's like to think that wrestling or something more could be taken away. So, uh, JD, tell us the experience you went through a couple years ago.
So in April of 2018, I believe, I was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma, which is a blood cancer, and the so I had to go through 8 rounds of chemo just to get rid of it, and it was very aggressive. So I was pretty much quarantined for that time too. I could not do anything for about 4.5 months, and so basically, like, I just had to go through all that and then try to get back to like the next wrestling season. That felt like because I had a bunch of kids that were kind of relying on me as a coach and a practice partner. So, uh, and I also had a kid on the way. So I definitely I went through that chemo and everything, and I actually gained weight. I got up to 202 pounds, just straight fat, bald, no eyebrows. I was rough looking, and yeah. So I right after that got done, I hit like a super hard diet and exercise program, worked out 2 to 3 times a day. And within like a month or 2 months, I lost 34 pounds, got down to 168, and got back into wrestling shape and got was able to compete and like help my team that next season. My kids I coach at NOM, so and then I was able to actually be there for my son, because if I didn't beat that like quickly enough, I wouldn't have been able to take care of my wife at the harder parts of that pregnancy, and I wouldn't have been able to really hold my son until like I was, unradiated and all that. So it was really like it was a tough experience, but like it was something I know I needed to do as quick as possible and like as aggressive as possible, really. And luckily, I was already in good enough shape and tech, took care of my body enough to where I could go through like some pretty hardcore chemos that were every other week. So yeah.
It's crazy. And in the course of that, like, couple years span, so you get diagnosed with cancer, you go through chemo, all the effects it has on your body, and then you get through it, and then here a few months ago, you actually trained hard enough that you were able to wrestle again, right? For the Air Force or for the Armed
Yeah.
Forces stuff.
So I was on the All Air Force wrestling team. I was the starter at 67 kilograms for Greco-Roman, and competed in the Armed Forces wrestling tournament versus the Army, Marines, and Navy. And I got to wrestle like two of the best Greco-Roman guys in the country. Uh, Alejandro Sancho, I believe he's ranked number 1 right now in the nation, and another guy from the Marines, Jameel Johnson. I believe he's around top 5 or something like that too. So I got to go in there and compete with those guys, as well as train at the Olympic Training Center and the Air Force Academy.
Yeah.
So I did that for like a straight 2 months, and that was my job for the Air Force. Was
And this
to
is post
train.
cancer too. So this is after cancer. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So
So that was yeah.
whenever right now everyone's kind of like I said, they're kind of bummed about wrestling. What what advice would you give as far as whenever you were going through that experience, you were obviously it's probably hard to stay positive about stuff in the future. So how do you approach that, or what advice would you give kids?
So the approach I had was like this was going to make me stronger and make things different for me. Like if I could beat cancer, I can do anything type of thing, right? So really advice I would give kids now is like it's only temporary and your body's like you're still able to go out and do stuff. You can still run, like push ups, sit ups, do something, and you could make yourself better that way. You can watch film, you can do all sorts of things. Like I wasn't able to really do much, and now I'm able. Like not too long ago, I was able to compete at one of the highest levels. So it's not necessarily like the worst thing in the world that you have to, not wrestle for a bit. It's like you can still get yourself better and keep grinding. It's just a different type of grind at this moment.
Yeah. Gonna ask you here for getting close to the end, but what like I said, you wrestled for Warrensburg, and then you were a real staple with us in the MoWest room and going to Fargo and stuff like that. What are what were some of your big takeaways from spring and summer wrestling, or what were some of your favorite memories from spring and summer wrestling?
Uh, I'd say my biggest ways I learned was probably hand fighting and summer wrestling, that Greco-Roman hand fighting, and then just the competition in the room that we had at the time, with Austin Eves, Derek Lapaya, Daniel Lewis, those are just three really top level guys, and I got to compete with them every day. And so, I think that was probably one of my favorite experiences too, is like, I would drive up a couple other Warrensburg guys and we would go and just grind and get back home and relax. But like, I felt better every day. Like, I felt like once I got to high school season, like, well, I just wrestled with like some of the top people in the state, maybe even the nation. Like, this state place, there's nothing compared to them. So it makes it so much easier during the season if you wrestle the best people on the off season.
Yeah. Jesse, you got any follow ups or any thoughts there?
No, I mean, I know JD's probably got some good ones, but I mean, do you have just the usual question that we've been asking, do you have any story, a wrestling story, that's appropriate that sticks out to you? Maybe it was a little weird, maybe it was a little, or maybe just something that really sticks out to you. I mean, you're a Warrensburg guy. I know there's plenty of those types of stories, but.
um, well, I do remember one time at MoWest with you. Uh, I remember wrestling, and I learned one funky move, and I took you down for like the first time, and probably the only time. And the rest of that practice, I really regretted it because you just kicked my teeth in for like a good like hour straight, and I was like, man, I don't know if I want to take him down ever again. So that was probably one of the stories that stuck out to me the most at MoWest, really. And then in the Warrensburg room, like, uh, I'd say,
I mean, you guys had some real characters on that Warrensburg team, so especially when
yeah,
you were younger. So,
to say the least.
right?
Yeah, well, I remember when I was a freshman, the seniors had this ongoing gag where they would get you to say a word, and it was the word of the day. And so if you said the word of the day, like everybody started screaming word of the day and would just tackle you. So they would ask you questions and say the word that day was like time, right? They're like, hey, yeah, what's that on the clock or what? And you're like, oh, the time. And then they would be like, what are the day? And just start tackling you and just like beating the crap out of you. So that was probably one of the Warrensburg experiences with like Cole Rogers, Cody
Right.
Nelson, all of them.
Most
That was
Warrensburg
definitely
experiences cannot be consumed by the public. They're
Right. They're not for public consumption at all, especially around
yeah.
a group of guys.
All right, man. Thanks for talking to us about it. It's a good story and it's a good perspective. Hopefully, keep people on track. Everyone's talking about how bummed they are about everything, but hey, it could be worse, and we will get through this. And wrestling and everything else in life will start up again. It might be a little different and an adjustment, but it's going to be all right. So,
Yeah, definitely.